handy. Super, great. So thank you very much for putting me on your agenda tonight. I know you have a full agenda, but I appreciate this, and I'm really here to tell you about a very exciting project, installation that is soon going to appear on the Mill Valley Sausalito pathway. And this is a new way. You can see the picture there of the viewer, the owl viewer we're calling it. This is a really new, innovative take on the viewers that I think are still in place on Coit Tower in San Francisco. Back in the day, there used to be viewers at Golden Gate Bridge that some of us remember looking through when we were very young. As I'll tell you more about as we go forward, this is a whole new concept of a viewer. Instead of just looking through and seeing at a distance, you're going to look through and see something very different. And the purpose for this project will be a temporary installation, and it's really to push forward our public education opportunities and our public dialogue and conversation opportunities about how we want to address sea level rise in our community. So just to set the scene a little bit, those of us who live here are very, very familiar with what we're facing already. These are some pictures of our community and the flooding that we faced in the December 2014 storm. For those of us who drive through Manzanita, we know that we suffer this at king tides as well. So for us here in Southern Marin, climate change, sea level rise are with us already. There's some trends of climate change that are continuing that don't make us believe that the impacts of sea level rise are going to stop anytime soon. And so, although this is a slow-moving impact for us, for those of you in the back, the screen may be very difficult to see, so I will read what's up there. These are our major climate disruption trends. Greenhouse gas emissions continue to rise, global surface temperatures are rising, and increased storm surge-induced flood events are with us as we experienced in December. So it's very important that all of us think about what we want to do about the impacts that we're currently experiencing and those that we will experience more often, most likely, in the future. So the first thing to do is really to think about what is the impact to our community. We're seeing that there will be additional impacts, and really recognizing that all of us are in this together. As we know, one of us could take some measure that maybe did something great and protected our home or our business, but water goes everywhere. And if there was ever an issue and a challenge that needs to knit together our communities, it's dealing with flooding and sea level rise. And so how do we have this conversation? We want to think about what our impacts are, what our options are, what our priorities, what we value, how can we work together effectively as neighborhoods, towns, counties, and the Bay Area communities. Because we have a lot of towns and communities here to work together. We are also linked with our other Bayside communities around the Bay. So there's some things that we're doing already. As many of you know, I'm sure, in 2013, I created a sea level rise pilot project for Southern Marin. We took that project and the very good work that was done by a steering committee of residents and business owners and different stakeholders. We took that project public in a public forum on November 1st. We got fantastic input and ideas from our residents. That really has fed into a great collaborative project, County-wide Sea Level Rise Vulnerability Assessment Project. It's a collaboration between the county and all of our cities and towns on the Bayside of our county. And that, I think, is going to teach us all a lot about what we're facing. So there is another way, though, to push this concept forward and these conversations forward. And so I learned about this startup called Owlized. I'm on the Sea Level Rise committee that BCDC, Bay Conservation and Development Commission, formed about a year and a half ago. And we were meeting with different kinds of educators, and one of the groups that came in was Owlized. And they started talking to me about this viewer. And I thought this could be a fantastic way to really engage in a conversation. And so we went to FEMA and got a grant from FEMA to fund the installation of 2 of these viewers. This is a project that's done in collaboration with Autodesk because, as you will see, when you look through the viewer, you are seeing the future of the terrain where the owl stands. And that will be created by very clever software that has allowed us to have a vision of the future and not just the present.
We can't put a lottery ticket in front of them.
Well, yeah. We'll ask him, but I doubt it. We'll ask him if he'll be helpful. So part of this, as I've been saying, it's really intended to engage all of us in the community and provide feedback. This viewer will be interactive. It will ask us several questions that people looking for the viewer can respond to. The responses to those questions are going to be gathered by Suzanne Moser, who's affiliated with Stanford University, who's really interested in how do we have a successful community conversation on issues such as sea level rise. So the owls are going in. There'll be 2 of them. There'll be one, the height for those of us who are adults. There's another one that's going to be the height for small children and the disabled. And they will be on site for 12 weeks starting on May 25th. Now, one of the challenges for us and the team that we had working on this project was where is a good place to put the owl? And remembering back on our funding, we thought, well, here's an area that already has some sense of what it is to have water that's a little bit too high. And so we thought that it would be good to put these owl viewers in right on Miller Avenue at Almonte. It obviously is right in the middle of what was a very wet area. We also like that location because of its proximity to schools and the ability for young people to come down and look through the viewer and give us their input on what their thoughts were about the future that we face. So let's look. I'm going to give you a little teaser of when you look through the owl viewer, what will you see? Well, first you're going to see where you are, existing conditions right there at that intersection. And then you're going to see what that intersection looks like at king tide. Now this is just looking in one direction. The viewer rotates, so you're going to be seeing 360 degrees around. So that's what you're going to see at the impact of king tides right at that area. And then we're going to step it up just a little bit. And you're going to be able to see what it looks like, what's the impact of 3 feet of sea level rise right in that location. That obviously is a lot of water. And so one of the things that we also want to show is just to get some ideas out there about how might communities deal with sea level rise and deal with that potentiality of having that much water. And so you're also looking for the viewer, going to see options. None of this is a plan, none of it's decided on. These are just ideas and options and what people are considering in various parts of our country and internationally. So the first thing that we've designed, whoops, and I just went fast forward, pretend you didn't see that, is what would it look like if you put a seawall in that area? And I'm sure folks can have a lot of ideas about whether a seawall is a good idea. It obviously, this is an option that can have a lot of visual impacts, can really separate people from different areas of the community. And as we saw with New Orleans, seawalls are not always invulnerable either. So again, this is just a concept to throw out and get people's input and create a conversation. We also, you'll be able to see what would that area look like with a very different kind of solution. Here being an eco-berm that has a lot more natural aspects to it. The walkway you see on top is just an idea of how you could be on top of this eco-berm and have an area where you look out and have a vista. There's a couple other things you're going to see when you look through. These are other ideas, just graphically drawn. Obviously, seawall on top, as you saw in a more sort of quasi-realistic rendering, and an earthen levee at the bottom. We had levees throughout our county, so it's something we're familiar with. But again, this is to stimulate a conversation. Potential other options here. Both of these are kinds of ecotones of different sizes. The one at the bottom obviously provides a great deal more of sort of public space and public useful space on the top. But again, this is just something for us all to talk about. So part of this, as I said, the viewer will be interactive, so you can actually respond to questions on the machine itself, on the viewer itself, but we also want to encourage people to go to the website and provide input there. I want to caution everybody, this website is not live yet. It will be live once the OWL becomes live on May 21st. And we also want to keep the conversation going. And the intention is to have a community workshop in September that will provide input information back to the community about what kind of information was gathered through the viewer and what kind of an experience was it for people looking through the viewer. Was this a useful way to stimulate a conversation, or was it not useful? And so we will take that out to a workshop in September. That's also a good opportunity for people to get further engaged and provide us with more input at that time. So media launch and ribbon cutting on May 21st. This is very cutting edge. This OWL viewer has not been in place anywhere else. And not surprisingly, we're getting a lot of media interest already, locally throughout California, nationally and internationally. So this is going to be kind of a big deal. So it will go live May 21st. I hope everyone in this room will come down and look through and see what you think and tell us what you think.
But not all in their cars.
That's right. That's right. You need to walk and bike on the multi-use pathway down to look through the viewer. And as I said, the owls will only be there for 12 weeks. This is temporary. We're assuming we're going to fall in love with the idea and try to have more of them in different places around the county. But even once the owls fly off, the conversation will go on. And so thank you for letting me give you a little taste of what's ahead. And come on down and see it, and come to the ribbon cutting on the 21st.
I was just wondering, Kate, if the owls also simulate the feeling of bay water up to your waist.
Well, we talked about that. You know, we got kind of giddy. We thought, how much can Autodesk really do? You know, should we get George Lucas involved so there's even more special effects? And we decided to try to keep it. Exactly. Yeah, it's going to spray you in the face. No, we decided not to go that. Maybe the next time.
I just like to repeat a question I asked before this started. I've been by there. It's really nice setup. It's really nice location. I know the owls are only temporary. I would appreciate it, rather than taking everything out, if you could leave something there and make it an educational display of some sort.
Right, and thank you for bringing that up, because there will be the two owls, and in between that is going to be an information plaque, call it for what you will, that will provide information. I think we definitely need to talk about a way to leave that in place, because it is a good educational tool. And but I think we'll think about whether there's other uses that we can make of that location too.
Okay.
So thank you for that.
Thank you. Does that answer your question? Does anybody want to comment?
Yeah. Question? Sure, I'd be glad to answer a question.
Is there a website maybe where we can see?
Or they have to be at the microphone to ask the question.
So the question was whether there's a website, and the website will go live once the owls go live on May 21st, and it'll have a lot more information about sea level rise on it. As you can imagine, there's only so much information that you can program into this kind of a viewer, and so the intention is to get people looking through it, get people thinking, and then really go to the website. And the website will provide more information, but also really a greater opportunity for everyone to provide thoughts and input to us. So thank you for that. And we will send around press release and reminders of what the website is right before the owl goes live, so you don't have to remember what was on that slide that's no longer up against the wall. So,
I think there's someone behind you who wants to say something.
right, Clayton?
What I want to continue on the stimulating a conversation. Last week we had a meeting on this topic of flooding at the Tam Valley Community Center. I have a very personal interest in this, and that we have had an office at 150 Shoreline Highway for 35 years, and the flooding that occurs at Manzanita has a material impact on our business. Our income costs us thousands, perhaps even tens of thousands of dollars a year in gross revenue. Now, what I pointed out at the meeting at the Tam Valley Community Center, which was widely acknowledged, agreed upon, and applauded, was that the elephant that was not in the room, either then or now, is Caltrans. We have a state agency which has a monopoly control over the roads that are the most impacted by this flooding. and they are AWOL all the time when this issue comes up in any of these local discussions. Now, Caltrans has a responsibility to this community that pays its taxes and pays for these roads to do something down there, and it is widely agreed upon in my community and by almost everyone that was attending this meeting, which was almost 100 people, that we need some work on that road down there. While we're doing all these studies and contemplations of what the future might hold, we do know that there is a solution that is technically at hand. It's called improving that road and elevating it, cleaning out the culverts and drainage systems down there so that we can alleviate this problem for this community. And I would hope that the people who are elected officials, both at the county level and at the city level, here, Sausalito, Corte Madera, the other places impacted, will make Caltrans, will put Caltrans's feet to the fire. That we will actually get some action and response out of this derelict organization, which lives in a high state of entitlement towards its constituents, its customers here. And I think one of the points of this that you can see is Caltrans has its yard right in front of the mess. They sit and look at it every time it occurs. So there's no excuse for them to claim ignorance. They're right in it's right in their face. And I would hope that the government of this community would get in their face and get that area fixed up for the rest of us. Thanks.
Let me just say something very briefly, and thank you, Clayton, for bringing that up. I think it is very important that we do these two things in tandem, and one is to make sure that we are proceeding with fixing some of our immediate road and flooding problems now, because we know the areas that are most vulnerable while we are in tandem planning for the future. And County Department of Public Works, our flood control people, are working with Caltrans and with the shopping center owner in Marin City that is implicated in some of the drainage and flooding problems that we had in that particular area in December. Senator Mike McGuire and I have met with Caltrans and will continue to do so. The head of our County Public Works and I meet with Bijan Sartipi, who's the regional director of Caltrans, quarterly, and we are pushing hard on all of these issues to push them forward. It's always helpful to have public support to do that and to have council support. And we've seen that, and we'll get to that item on the agenda later about the traffic issues. But all of our municipalities, our jurisdictions, letters from our councils to Caltrans on these issues are very, very helpful, as well as public pressure on Caltrans. So thank you, Blake, for bringing that up.
Thank you, Kate. Okay, next item on the agenda, under number 4, is a discussion of, did you want to say something? On the last item?
Yes. Thank you. It's a long evening. Jim Bitter, Circle Avenue. We have a state law called AB 32. It's the Global Warming Solutions Act. I think National Resource Defense Council was involved in that. But we have this big problem called global warming, and of course we have the solution. And everything we're doing now in these cities and counties, we have people showing up on our doorstep with the solution. And I think this is another example. These people are probably going to be in every county in California putting up these owls. So in reference to that state law, I'd like to nail this thing down once and for all. We have a county supervisor, or supervisors get paid big salaries, and apparently there isn't a lot to do up there. This is kind of folly, but is it global warming? Is it climate change? Is it climate disruption? And if the sea is rising, I'm a native of Marin. I was born here. If the sea is rising every year by how much? And there's a cost-benefit ratio to these kinds of things we're doing. And I think you could spend $150,000 and hire 2 teachers at Tam High School and teach climate to the kids, or economics about the national debt, $18 trillion. The country does not have $150,000. This is FEMA money for people that are in a disaster. So is it climate change? Is it global warming? What is it?
Okay, why we need to, just say what you want to say.
Well, you opened it up for questions, and,
Well, I opened it up for comments. So.
well, at what point in our local history is someone going to step up to the plate and answer the simple question? It's state law, AB 32. Is it global warming, climate change, climate disruption? Where is the hard data? The last 20 years of hard data that will demonstrate that the world is getting warmer. And from what I see, it's not. It's actually cooling a little bit. So I'd like an answer from our elected, highly paid supervisor. What is it that we're spending $150,000 on?
Send her an email or give her a call.
I'd rather do it at a public meeting so everybody can hear.
Okay, well, we've got to go forward here.
We have to go forward, okay. So we're moving forward. I've heard that before, but thanks for the time.
Thank you. Okay, next item.